First of all, I'd outline how bad this country's position is right now. I think everyone should recognise the fact that we're borrowing $375 million a week at the moment to pay every last one of you sitting inside here, to pay people outside that are working for the state, and it's filtering back into small businesses. And that's an essential part of where we're at the moment. Unfortunately, we're going to have to cut more money out of the economy next year, and I'll get back to that shortly. Nobody outside this chamber is under any illusion who's responsible for the black hole that the economy is in right now. You're the only fellow sitting there from that political party. There's no way that you're going to get away from it for a long, long time. The greasy pole that Ireland has been attached to for a long time yet will be attributed to Fianna Fáil, and there's no getting away from it, lads. This budget had to take €3.8 billion out of the economy, and it had to do it for various reasons. Because we actually want to regain our economic independence. That's the most important thing. The most significant detrimental thing to happen to our country since the foundation of the state is to lose your economic independence. It's nearly akin to the situation that you have up north. It's a terrible situation with Sinn Féin to be in an assembly where you're essentially paymaster tells you how much money you have, and then you have to allocate it as you see fit. And unfortunately, you're in a position there where you're making cuts inside in schools, and you're making cuts inside in closing down Garda stations and the likes of that. And look, I'm not going to dwell on it, but that's the reality of it as well. PSNI stations, well, you'll be in and out of both of them, so it would make very little difference. There's a question of how the Labour Party is relevant inside in this government. And I think the easy thing for us to have done would be go over there and sit inside in the opposition benches. And Deputy First, I noticed that you're wearing a Munster tie, a Munster rugby tie. If you played rugby, you'd know this, that those that are on the benches and the sidelines, they sing, "Stand up and fight" is the song. That's right. And you know who stands up and fights? Those that are inside on the pitch. And this is the pitch over here, and that's the sidelines over there. And this is the courageous place to be. You have to take the bull by the horns for a change. There's no doubt about it that if we were going to go out there and tell the people that this is our manifesto for government, and you know what? We've no intention of going into power thereafter. And I'd like to quote you something from 2010, Sinn Féin Ardèche. This Ardèche calls on Sinn Féin not to go into power with other parties in government, such as Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael, as this would be incompatible with our politics and would damage the party. Put the party first or put the country first. Now, which is it? Well, I'm man enough to front up around here, and I go into the government benches, and I realise what has to be done. And I tell you, lads, in Fianna Fáil, fair dues to you, he did some hard work there. He made some mistakes, but he owned up to it. And I think that we'll take some slack for this, and there's no doubt about it. Like, there's an awful lot of people that are able to listen to the simple rhetoric that goes on around the place. But I'd like to contradict some of the nonsense that's gone on. Okay, the first one. Take a simple look, just a very simple look, at corporation tax. 3 people in the last 10 years used to look for corporation tax to be raised in this country. One of them is Deputy Boyd Barrett, and he's been true to himself. He still likes it to be increased. The other is the President of France, President Sarkozy, and that's because he's uncomfortable with the fact that we have such a competitive advantage to it. And the other was Sinn Féin, and they've completely given in on that, and they've seen the light at the end of the tunnel, and now they're happy with it being 12.5%, and that's a fact.
Just 1 minute, Deputy.
And that is a fact. And in the words of Deputy Adams yesterday, anybody that interjects is an Abaddon, and I don't agree with that, and I'd like to be corrected at any stage. No, an Abaddon is what he said, and I don't agree with that. But what I would say to you is this: if there's anything that I'm saying that's wrong, please be free to interject or correct anything that's wrong at all. The second thing I'd like to point out is the bank guarantee, and this is just accurate, absolutely accurate. The current spokesperson: we appreciate the move by the government today and remind ourselves that it is a bailout by taxpayers for the banks. I intend to support this bill, as my party colleagues did in the Dáil when the vote was taken early in the hours this morning. We do this because the bill is in the national interest. October 2008. I think I'll have to give you another one as well, lads, because it's all true.
Yeah, you just have to wind up now, Deputy. Get your colleague, Deputy McCarthy wants to speak as well.
There's 2 other things here, okay? That's the corporation tax. That's that. And then the most important thing is the budget. We took €3.8 billion out of the budget. If we had burnt the bondholders, as was a suggestion of Sinn Féin, well then we would have been in a position where we'd have to go back to the markets because the Pension Reserve Fund would have been usurped by now. And if you go, just comprehend this for 1 minute, just for 1 minute, comprehend this. 18.6 billion euros would have to be stripped out right now because we're at junk bond status. And junk bond status, remember this, junk bond status. The Germans, the strongest economy in Europe at the moment, can't subscribe their bonds. I tell you, it's actually laudable. So if you want me to hear exactly what you're proposing, if you're talking about stripping that kind of money out of it, well, it's not just small little hits. People will be decimated, the country will be decimated.
Thanks, Deputy.
So front up and either go into the government benches or keep running for cover. Because there's plenty of presidents
I want to call your colleague, Deputy McCarthy, please.
The leader came down here for cover.
Please let your deputy
colleague, Deputy
McCarthy in, please. Deputy